everybody. We just waiting for the other social media things to go live, and we're also waiting for some people to join us. Looks like we're having connection problems here. Give us 1 second. No, now we're live. We're still gonna wait. We've just got live on all 3 platforms. We're gonna give everybody a good minute to come on, and then we're gonna get into it. So we will see. We're live on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Right. This one's having a little issue. 1 second, everybody. Instagram seems to be having a problem. We're gonna restart that one. Right. See if it works better this time. Still checking the connection on there. Give us 1 second. We're gonna get started in 20 seconds or less, everybody. That's weird. Alright, now we are live on Instagram as well. Alright, great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all for joining this bulletin update from Council President Brandon Scott. We're gonna go through again our daily update about the COVID-19 situation here in Baltimore and of course across the country. So we are now going to just jump right into some of the latest updates that we had here. We know from Governor Hogan's press conference this morning, of course, we found out last night that we had our first Maryland death related to COVID-19 as a 60-year-old man in Prince George's County who had underlying health issues. We also had a young person, a 5-year-old girl from Howard County test positive for COVID-19. This is something that I think is critical information for everyone to know, because we've been consistently hearing from folks who talk about how this is a virus or an issue that's only impacting senior citizens, but we now know that it impacts, we know that anyone can get COVID. It's not something that's limited to our senior citizens or any of things like that. So we also know that today the governor talked about how only personnel. Give us 1 second again, everybody. Something's going on with the internet today here at City Hall. 1 second. Everybody give us 1 second. We are going to restart the live in 1 second. Alright, so now, we're now live again on all platforms. Sorry for those who are just joining us. We're going to just do a quick recap and just go back through all of that. This again, update, a bulletin from Council President Brandon Scott on COVID-19 and where we are today. We're letting everyone join us on the bulletin. Thank you all for being here. Yes, we are live now. So, again, just some updates from the governor's press conference today, and then please start to send in your questions. We will answer them as we go through, just so that we're getting out the information, but answering questions as we go forward too. We had our first death in the state of Maryland, a 60-year-old man from Prince George's County who had health issues, underlying health issues with the first death. There was a 5-year-old girl who tested positive in Howard County today. And I want that to be the point where we stop and realize that, let me just be very, very clear. Everyone is susceptible to catching this virus. People over 60 and those with chronic health conditions are just at the highest risk. So if you're young and healthy like myself, you too can catch COVID-19 or be infected by this virus, right? So don't think because you're young that you're immune. You also have to follow the advice of the public health professionals, and we all need to be isolating ourselves, practicing social distancing at all costs. Meaning, if you don't have to interact with other people outside of your close family members at home, if you don't have to go to work, if you don't need to do any of that stuff, stay at home. This is a critical time in the COVID fight for us because we have to slow down the spread of this disease, and the best way that we can do that is to have less interaction with each other. Also wanted to just update some other things that Governor Hogan said that only the public transportation services should be limited to emergency personnel. We do know since then they have let us know that people will not be denied, but they are asking us to, when all possible, to not use public transportation unless you're emergency personnel. If you have to use it to go to work, that's a different thing. But they want us to make sure that we are trying to limit that as well, because we have to make sure that those individuals who need to get to those hospitals and other places are able to get there. And also we want them to limit their contact with other people because we don't want them spreading it as they're going to our medical facilities. Also, if you're going to BWI and planning on flying anywhere, which is something that I will advise against. I don't think that you should be flying anywhere right now. I think you should be canceling all your trips and staying at home and being safe. But only ticketed passengers will be allowed into BWI Thurgood Marshall. And now, what I'm going to do now is to stop and take a few questions. Give me a second so I can bring them up and on my screen here. There was all right. So someone asked, can I tell you what's open and what's closed? Again, so today at 5:00, all malls, all shopping centers were closed, right? So they are now closed. You can still go to the pharmacy. You can still go to the supermarket. Again, restaurants and bars were already closed in Baltimore. However, if you want to get carry out or delivery from those places, you can still do that as well. If folks are asking about their doctor's appointment, I would advise you to check with your doctor first to see how your physician is handling the situation. Different practices are handling it in a different way. So make sure that you call ahead for that. So, why aren't we releasing the names of those who tested positive with the virus so people around them can get tested? So what happens is, one, you have to, there are laws around people's health, there are HIPAA laws in place, but also you can rest assured that when that happens, those individuals, families, and the people around them are also going to be supported through that. But you cannot be sharing people's personal health information without their approval, and you have to make sure you're being responsible about doing that. And again, I'm going to take this as a point of privilege to say, this again is who should get tested in Maryland, right? And everywhere. Only if you have the severe symptoms should you be going to the emergency room or calling 911 to get tested for COVID. We cannot afford to have our systems overloaded with people who do not meet those qualifications. So, if you are having shortness of breath, tightness in the chest, and you feel sick and that you cannot do what you normally do and push forward, then you go and seek the testing. You call 911, you go to the emergency room. Other than that, what we want you to do is call your primary physician, your primary care physician, tell them that you have slight or mild symptoms, right? Slight or mild symptoms, and then they will advise you on how to proceed. And for those who don't have that, we have that information where you can call 211 and some other places to get advice on how to proceed in that. Someone asked the question, will schools be closed longer than expected? We don't know yet, but we know today that several of the colleges, Morgan State, Johns Hopkins, for example, are now saying that its students will not be returning to school and it will be learn in place for the rest of the year. We know that the governor is suggesting that for all Maryland schools, and those discussions will happen with the public schools as well. So stay tuned for that. You can rest assured that you can get that information from us as quickly as possible. All right, thank you. And some other things I want to point out from the messages from today. At this time, all public gatherings of 10 people or more are prohibited. 10 people or more. So it's no longer 50, 10. And again, if we want to make it through this with less people dying in our city and our state, then we have to follow this advice. This is not a game. This is not a joke. This is a very serious situation, and we can make it through this, but only if we're listening to the advice of the public health professionals. All right? Also, just some council updates. So we were supposed to have a city council meeting on Monday. I canceled it. The council will not reconvene until April the 6th at the earliest. My office actually right now, we're working on a way for us to virtually have those meetings, but also considering that we want the public, just like you do here on our live feed, be able to still interact with us and ask questions when appropriate with our public hearings. Okay? You can also, if you want to, go back and watch some of the old council meetings. You can watch them on Charm TV's YouTube page, and also they run them consistently on Charm TV 25 if you are a city resident who has Comcast. And then I'll go back again just to recap all the mandates. 10 people or less gatherings. 10 people or more banned, so under 10 people for gatherings. All bars, restaurants, movie theaters, gyms, malls, shopping centers are all now closed, except that you can get carry out from your food facilities. You can still go to the grocery store. You may still get your prescriptions from the pharmacy. Again, utility companies will not be shutting off service. There will be no late fees, and tenants will not be evicted during this process and during this crisis. So I'm going to stop again and see if we had any more questions that have come in. Let's see here. No, the MTA is not free. They want you to use a charm card when possible. The MTA is not free right now. Great question, though. Very, very good question. Any other questions? Do we have any questions on Facebook? Let's see. Facebook questions. So there was a question that talked about what plans are in place if a shelter-in-place order is issued for the thousands of opioid users. Listen, everything is going to be looked at very seriously. When you're talking about these emergency situations, emergency plan, this is why we have an Office of Emergency Management. This is why the state has one. This is why we have that at the federal level. They run these exercises consistently and then make sure that we're able to follow them when needed. Hopefully we don't get to that place, but we can help to not get to that place by, again, following the advice of our public health professionals now to try to prevent us from having to get to that place. And that's why it's, again, critically important for everyone. Stay home unless you have to go out. Do not go out unless you have to. So someone asked a great question. Do you fear another cyber attack while going through this crisis? I actually had a conversation with our IT director in front of City Hall last Saturday as he and I were coming in to work. And we know that during this crisis, we are seeing hundreds of thousands of attempts to attack the city consistently. They are aware of that. They're monitoring that. We have, of course, built up our system to be stronger since the cyber attack. But thank you. That's a great question. So someone asked a question, are the police available? Absolutely. Now, what we will say to you guys is this. What we want our police doing now is focusing in on what we know they should be doing in Baltimore, especially leading and most importantly deal with violent crime and, of course, our high priority crimes. there. We're gonna post on our on our social media feeds when this is over. Things that you can report online. There are things that you can report online that don't require you to see a police officer or interact with that person in person. For example, like if someone threatens you over the phone, vandalism, property damage, theft, basic larceny, or even larceny from auto, credit card abuse, online identity theft. There are things that we can report crimes for that we don't need a police officer to come, that you can do on the phone or online. Let's see. So somebody said, what are essential staff and why are institutions dragging their feet in closing? So it's a great question. It depends on place to place. So essential staff here in city government and from agency to agency in city government is different. It's definitely different from state agency to state agency. But if you are particularly asking about your employer, what I would ask you to do is send us a direct message and we can get the answer to you and try to help you as best as possible. So someone said they thought City Hall was closed. Why am I here? Great question. So City Hall, we are asking folks to telework, especially those who are not essential. Clearly, myself being the council president, I'm essential. I have to be here in City Hall. I've been having my staff telework and communicating with them. You may see there's actually a health department meme of me doing a virtual staff meeting with my staff because we want them to be safe. But I am practicing social distancing at all costs and making sure that I'm not meeting with large groups of people and interacting with people in that way. But I have to be here in order to be on top of the situation, be here and also out in the community, mixing those things to make sure that you guys in the city government is functioning the way it should be, even through a crisis. So the people who use mobility to get to work, mobility is still operating. That you can call them, that stuff is still available. And then there was the food bank. Maryland Food Bank is operating and they are doing a great job. What we will be able to do is share that information. So who asked that question, send us a direct message so we can send you the link so that you can see how they're operating. And again, there are food sites across the city that people can have access to. We have the latest map. We'll be putting that up later so you can see where you can get that in the city. All right. Let's see. There we go. All right. So now, just gonna go to that, right to that too. Also, there will be no tickets for street sweeping, so they won't be doing that, and parking tickets for those things. There are now 50 designated meal sites throughout the city. The school system added some more sites the other day, and I'm just going to run through those latest sites that they added. So the school system is now offering sites at Franklin Square Elementary Middle, Gwynns Falls Elementary, City Neighbors, Hamilton, Holabird Elementary, Marie Faring Elementary Middle, Lakeland Elementary Middle, Pimlico Elementary Middle, Santan Winchester Achievement Academy, Dorothy I. Height Elementary School, Alexander Hamilton Elementary School, Cherry Hill Elementary Middle, Yorkwood Elementary, John Ruar Elementary Middle, Arlington Elementary, Beachfield Elementary, Sinclair Lane Elementary, and Dunbar High School. So those are the sites, and what we will do is put the sites up from the city in a map form so that you can see with the link, so that you can get that information. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Will small businesses be closing? So again, we know that if they are in a shopping center and things like that, they will have to close. We're also understanding that some small businesses are choosing to self-close just to be responsible and try to help us through this situation. And people have to make an informed decision. This is something that I think is critical, that we don't have to wait for the government or someone like us to say. We have to make the best decision, especially if you're a small business owner and you have limited space and you know people are going to congregate consistently inside your business. That you can do that without the city government or state government telling you to do that. Okay, we have some more questions here. Charm card, like they want you to use that. They want you to prepay. They still, of course, will allow folks to pay the regular way, but they're just suggesting that to cut down on the interaction. All right, and let's see some other questions coming here. Right, and then for all of this information that we have about COVID, I just want to remind everybody that you can get this information at BaltimoreCityCouncil.com and click COVID-19 so that you can get all the information. You're welcome. Someone said thanks for letting their wife come home to work. And give me 1 second, everybody, and try to bring up some more questions here. All right, let's see. No updates about school. Nothing has changed about school as of yet. Nothing has changed about school as of yet. So we're going to continue to monitor that situation. All right. Give me 1 second, everybody. Gonna look up some more information here that I want to be able to get out to you guys. 1 second. All right. So somebody asked, do we think releasing people from jail was a bad idea? So my understanding is that it's not people being released. It's about people not being charged with lesser non-violent offenses right now, because again, we have to consider our police officers too, right? We want them focused in on people who are not committing a violent crime. We want them focusing on the right people. So what the state's attorney did yesterday was say that they will not be charging people with these lesser crimes. And yes, DSS is closed. I forgot someone asked that question. So someone said, aren't millennials more likely to be the carriers of the virus? So why are you putting people at risk? So I'm not putting people at risk because I'm not interacting with people that violate the best advice of public health professionals. Again, remember, my staff is working from home. I am here. People are not interacting with me in a non-safe way, and that's what you continuously have to do. Everyone has to do this, right? So for people who have the issues with DSS, you should call 443-423-6400 to get that information and help, the help that you need. All this info, again, is at BaltimoreCityCouncil.com and click COVID-19. All right. Will the city be able to assist families unable to work during this time? So this is something that we know has to happen, not just in Baltimore, but also across the country. So we know that we're going to be working. We know that the federal government is working on a package. I have asked the mayor of Baltimore to open up our rainy day fund to help our people and small businesses. We'll see how that goes as well. We know that the state also has a COVID package. We are going to come together like no other time when dealing with this issue, because it's an issue that's unlike something we've ever seen. So you can see how quickly they're moving at the federal level. We know that that will come down to the local level. So rest assured, we will help with any way that we can. No, malls will be closed permanently until the governor says they can reopen as of 5 p.m. today. Northeast Market also, all our public markets are now closed. They will open up when we believe it is safe for them to be open to not help the spread of COVID-19, they are now closed. Not just Northeast Market, Lexington Market, the Avenue Market, all of the public markets are now closed. If you know someone who's trying to get on the bus to go to work and they're not allowed on by MTA, please make sure that person contact us either via social media or calling our office at 410-396-4804, or they can email us or email me at councilpresident@baltimorecity.gov. All right, let's see. Any other questions coming in? Anybody else have any other questions? All right, thank you everybody. I'm gonna give you some other stuff really quickly before we close too. Again, remember, you can get resources from the city schools at baltimorecityschools.org/health-updates. Again, you also can find all of this information on baltimorecitycouncil.com and just click COVID-19. So someone asked, where do I go for healthcare if I do not have a primary doctor? We want you to call 211. They'll be able to direct you to one of the healthcare individuals that can help you. Someone said about the conditions in the Metropolitan Center. Please send us a direct message about that so that we can follow up with you, and we will be sure to do that as soon as possible. Last thing I want to say to everybody, again, everyone is susceptible to COVID-19. So tell your friends, tell your mother, tell your brother, tell Lottie, Dottie, and everybody that this is not just something that older people can get. We have a 60-year-old that died from it in Maryland. We have a 5-year-old that's contracted it. We have 20-year-olds in Baltimore City that have this virus. What we know we can do is to social distance ourselves at all costs. I'm going to keep saying it over and over and over again because people are going to die from this. But less people will die if we heed the advice of public health professionals now. Yes, it's going to be tough on the way of life. Yes, it's going to make it so that people are not comfortable and you can't do the things that you normally like to do. Like, I can't go to the gym, I can't play basketball, I can't play football, I can't go over to my grandma's house for Sunday dinner. But I know I can't do that because my grandmother has a pre-existing condition and I want my grandmother to be here for as long as possible. That's what you have to consider when you're grouping up above 10, when you're not following social distancing, when you're doing things that it's just irresponsible for us to be doing that at this point. You may not get sick and have the symptoms, you may survive, but you can pass it on to somebody else. And we know people 60 and above are more at risk. People who have serious chronic medical conditions like heart disease, like diabetes, like lung disease, like cancer, are more likely to get and contract this thing. So if we want us to go through and make it through this, then we can do it. We have to do this. We will do this together. And also, simultaneously, we cannot and will not lose sight of the other pandemic in Baltimore, which is gun violence. I went up to Park Heights and Quantico, a place that I spent pretty much most of my childhood at today because they had a shooting there. And my family runs a business there still. And my uncle was closed, but I was able to talk to the good folks at Halal Food about what's going on in the neighborhood consistently. And we know that we can't lose sight of this either. We have to tackle both of these at the same time. So, again, thank you for joining us as you do every day. We'll look forward to you joining us again tomorrow for our next update. You can always find the latest information on our Instagram, on our Twitter, and on our Facebook. We're going to continuously put that information out. We just ask that you guys spread the information out and tell everybody to take this seriously so that we can make it through this together. Thank you, everybody. And if you have further questions, just shoot us a direct message and we will get them to you. Peace.